Seth Wildeboard is with us, and we're going to talk about parenting and children. And what sparked this conversation was a fight outside the school. I think it was in, oh God, Seth, morning. Bring in Seth now. Was it Claxton Bay? Cedros? No, it wasn't Cedros. The fight outside the school down in South. I can't remember the exact school. But it was reported on in the papers and that kind of thing, where the two women were fighting, and one guy tried to hit one of the women with a jack from the car, and one of the other men there kind of, he got in the middle of that, and it had a blade involved and all kind of thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about parenting and children. So Seth, morning. We have to leave till 6 now because it's 7:56. So let's go. Got 10 minutes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Stefan Reese, and all of our viewers. All right. So I think, because I listened to the comments, and listened to the callers, and the calling and stuff, and the comments that are made with reference to these things. But there are things that aren't considered with regards to parenting. There's a high degree of difficulty when it comes to parenting. Now, some might say, I'm not a parent, and maybe I shouldn't be talking on the topic. And I would simply respond to that by saying, most gynecologists are men, right? So let's not use that. If you don't have, you can't talk on the topic, all right? Because knowledge encompasses all. Yeah. And therefore, knowledge, if you know how to apply it, can benefit anyone. And many people that are outside of a situation usually have a better perspective of it because they're not in it, and therefore it prevents them, or they have less cognitive biases with regards to the situation. All right? So when it comes to parenting, because, a lot of things people are saying that they need to pass laws where the parent could be charged when the child is misbehaving or whatnot. Yeah. And we need to understand that if that law is passed, then that's a violation of your rights. Plain and simple. Right? It's a violation of your rights, plain and simple. So I don't ever see it as a law that would be passed, and if it is passed, it could be challenged and defeated. One of the reasons being the latest in psychology with regards to parenting, all right, shows that a child is not just raised by their parents. A child is raised by society. What the latest in technology shows is that society has a bigger impact on a child's development than the parent. Because of all the technological advancement. Yeah. But in a sense, it was even so before, because, we always have the saying, the village raises the child. Yeah. Right? And I think people don't understand exactly what that statement means, It doesn't mean that outside of the parental home, that the villagers are responsible in some way of raising the child. It means that the influences within the village or society, from a greater standpoint, is what raises the child. It's the influences. So, go ahead. Because children naturally would venture away from their parents. For different reasons, you have in the early stages of a child's life, a child would venture or play, and then you'll see them go out of view, out of vision. And what was understood is if a parent rushes when the child goes out of view, out of vision of that child, it basically would upset the child, because what children would do, they'll venture away and then they would come back, right? Because a child always still wants the protection from their parents. So when they venture out of view, because children explore, that's how they learn, that's how their brain develops. All right, and then they venture back into the range. And if a parent goes too quickly, because as soon as the child goes out of range, they get up on the rush quick, then that could be, that also affects the child's development. Of course, there's a degree of discernment that a parent has to put towards that, because this is why you want to secure the home and make sure it have nothing dangerous, so that when the child does something like that, they don't really put themselves into too much danger. But the child would always come back. And then you have, like in adolescence, when children are developing with hormones and whatnot, that they also tend to pull away from parents well. Right?
That's the period where you work very hard to deceive your parents.
Right. Right? You try. And that's when a child, you know, you start to develop your own self, your own identity. So you want privacy and all of these things start to take place as well. Then you have the whole peer pressure aspect of things. And, you know, growing up, you always hear about peer pressure, but then a lot of people think they aren't subjected to peer pressure. Peer pressure don't affect them. Well, that is one of the biggest pressures that affect people, right? Peer pressure is a big thing.
Correct.
Now, that aspect, the peer pressure aspect, is one of the main issues, because when I hear callers call in and say, you know, when I was young, this and that and the other, they are forgetting something. We did not have the technology back then that we have today. Technology today is advancing a lot faster than we are capable of properly adapting or positively adapting to. And I use the term positively because adaptation is going to take place regardless, but it may not always be positive, right? Adaptation would take place. For example, in nutrition, adaptation takes place to poor dietary choices. It is called diseases. Diseases is an adaptation to poor dietary choices. That's why people are diseased, all right? Same way, these social anomalies, as we might call it, or these social deviant behaviors are an adaptation to the influence of the advancement in technology. All right. For example, social media. Social media plays a massive role in the mentality and personality and behavioral traits of a child. All right. There is a reason why a lot of the developers of social media do not allow their children to own smartphones. There's a reason why. Because it is damaging.
Yeah.
It is damaging, and I mean severely damaging. I saw a documentary some years back where I think it was Facebook and so forth. They did their own research and studies on the impact of social media. And in the younger generation today, the ones that grew up with social media, they have an increase in mental health issues at over 450%.
Wow.
Right? That is not a small increase.
No.
So when people are thinking that, oh, the parent is to blame, the technology is the problem.
Yeah.
Now,
I think the technology has also created a little divide or a little distance between the parent and the child relationship.
correct.
You know,
Correct.
it's
A lot
kind
of
of pull
people
them
now-
away from the parent because I mean, if you were to travel today and you sit in a vehicle, I think about 9 out of 10 times you're going to see people like this in a taxi.
Yeah. And on the phone. So
The head
it
dog on that
reduces
phone, yeah.
Socialize, in-person physical socialization.
Yeah.
All right? So everybody is just on these devices. So when a lot of parents now today, because when I say this topic can branch off into so many issues.
Yeah.
A lot of parents today, because of the stresses of today, and we have an increased amount of single parents. So what they would do, it's easier to have control of a child if you put them on a device. The child would quicker stay quiet that way. So you can now see about doing something on this end because you're basically doing it on your own by yourself. So you use the social media as a means to parent the child. So the child is now being parented by the social media, by the tablet, by these devices, all right? Because the parent now has to now work now to do the role of both mother and father and whatnot, right? And this now, they need to get that child to stay quiet. So how do you do it? Social media.
Social media.
The other things that come in with the social media or these technological devices, you then give them snacks. So they have snacks and social media. So we have a decline in mental health and we have a decline in physical health at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we're giving them the snacks that they want, which I think I mentioned sometime in the past that gentle parenting is probably one of the worst things to happen, right?
I remember that.
So we give them the snacks, they choose the snacks, and then we put them in front of these devices, and they are schooled by these devices, right? I believe if anything is to happen. I think children should not be allowed smart devices under the age of 18, right? When you are an adult, then you should be able to get a smart device.
Yeah,
right?
because
prior to that.
That's the other thing. The other thing is the age in which these children get these devices, because it's a funny side it's two sides of a coin, eh? Because on one hand, if your child is 8 or 9 years old, let's just say, there are some 8 and 9-year-olds that know this device better than you and I.
Well, even younger than that.
Yeah.
From even younger than that.
They pick this up, they're in a gear. They could operate this, right. Now, the thing is, how do you balance that talent and interest in this, right? And keep it in a positive direction, because there are positives there, because the world has already made certain advancements, and we're already here in the age of technology, and it will continue to go in that direction.
What I have seen from my research is the positives of it does not outweigh the negatives.
The negatives.
Right? The positives benefit the LGBTQ community more than it benefits any other community. Right? To say it plain and simple.
What?
Because the benefits the LGBTQ community.
The benefits of this?
Get a sense of, correct, because they get to communicate with other people around the world that identify as them, so they get a sense of belonging. So that's where most of the benefits come from.
I understand.
Right? That's where most of the benefits come from. That community benefits more. All right? When it comes to the negative, for example, among females, depression is dramatically increasing, because on social media you have all these images that causes things like body dysmorphia, because they are looking at all these. And then this is why, if you notice, they remove the dislike button. You have the dislike button, but you can't get to see the dislike numbers on your posts and stuff on social media, right? That was one of the ways in which they're trying to utilize that means in order to reduce the negative psychological impact that social media is having. So you could only see the likes, but not the dislikes, right? Because that has a huge, something as simple as that, has a huge negative impact. In fact, for Facebook, the guy that created the like button, the like and dislike buttons, his children don't have social media.
Serious?
Right? Yeah. Right?
Ain't that interesting?
Yeah, the person that invented that like and dislike button. All right? So these are the things that we don't take into consideration. All right? Technology has been advanced. They say it took 2.4 million years for us to learn to control fire. And we are advancing in technology, doubling in knowledge and data and information every year.
Wow.
Doubling, right? Today, because of the advancement in technology. All right, so when we don't consider that, we are going to adapt. Regardless, like I mentioned, we are going to adapt. But it's if the adaptation is going to be positive. So like I mentioned before, it's the same with nutrition. We are going to adapt. So people that have their belief on what they're supposed to eat or not supposed to eat, you are going to adapt to it, regardless of how you think about it.
Wow.
But is the adaptation going to be something positive or negative? And what we are seeing in society, lifespans have shortened. For those that do not know, the average life expectancy in Trinidad is 74.89 years. And people think that is normal, because the says 3:10. Methuselah in the Bible lived 969 years, literally. 969 years. So that means the age people are dying at today, which means we are aging faster. And based on the actual studies, the reason why we are aging so fast is because of the fact that we are poisoning ourselves, and unaware, because they found a connection. They realized poisoning and aging is actually the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Is the same thing. Poisoning and aging is the same thing. So while you're thinking, I'm dying at 74 or 75 years, I'm on borrowed time. You know the saying we like to say, once you cross 70, you're on borrowed time. To somebody like Methuselah, you're still a toddler.
Yeah.
Right? You're still a toddler.
But as you know, as you mentioned, the poisoning and all that kind of thing, and the aging and that kind of thing, I saw that he's the only politician that I hear talking about it. Robert Kennedy. He's the only man I hear talking about that, you know. The food industry, you know. He said we have to get a grip on the food industry because they're poisoning us every day.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
He's the only person who seems to be concerned about it.
A lot of people poisoning themselves, not just the food industry.
Well, yeah, right? but he specifically spoke to because we know it have certain foods out there that really not supposed to be on the shelf.
Because what people think is healthy is not healthy.
Yeah.
And it would stay that way because it also benefits many other industries, not just the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, the medical device industry. Do you think they have any intention of educating people on the truth? What I do at my clinic is I educate people on the truth. This is why I've said it, and I've said it many times. I am open for anybody to debate me live on national television with regards to these things, right? Because I know for a fact that there are blatant lies being told to people out here, right? Blatant lies. Many people, like Trinidad, we have an issue with diabetes, and many people are of the belief if they take the diabetic medication, you take the medication, and your reading is good, that you are good.
That you're good,
once you're on any form of medication, your class is having metabolic syndrome, you are sick. You are just not seeing that on the test that you take, your reading is good, but you're still getting in the excess sugar, yet you haven't dealt with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Understood.
So eventually going and get sick. That's going to lead to you taking more medication, then it's going to lead to you having to go on insulin, going to lead to you having to have some kind of amputation, or you go to blindness, or you have to go on dialysis, and then there is death after that. That is the natural progression of that. Unchecked diabetes always leads to those conditions.
Right.
And if you're thinking your medication is keeping it in check, it isn't, because you're going to continue to get sicker. We have to deal with root causes of stuff. We have to deal with root causes. So whether it is with human behavior with regards to parenting, we have to look at root causes and come up with proper strategies against those things in order for us to function correctly and have positive adaptation to these things. But we sit down and we twiddle our thumbs and we wait for somebody else to come and tell us what to do. Right?
Yeah.
And when truth sayers, like myself, people that come out and talk the truth sayers are not liked people. Right? Nobody likes the truth, and it's not just because we upset over the truth. No, it has to do with regards to human itself.
You're singing to the choir, my brother. You're preaching to the choir. Here I am, you know.
Because we are creatures of manipulation. To get an individual to do something that you want, you have to resort to manipulating tactics. I try to just give them the truth and hope that they make the change. Politicians understand manipulation more than anybody else. That is their strong point, and they master the art of it.
Not just politicians, the media as well.
Oh, of course.
The art of misleading. You understand? I said it at the top of the show this morning, that the human being, right? We almost out of time here. I had a wrap up, but I said it. I don't know if you heard it at the top of the show. The human being is an amazing creature that loves to be manipulated, because
we love it.
And this is what I said. The same networks, right, that told you to go and take a vaccine that made absolutely no sense, that eventually led to people getting damaged in terms of strokes and heart problems and all these little things, right?
Yeah.
Those same networks that denied certain things were effective against the virus at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like when things like hydroxychloroquine came up, they tell you, oh God, if you take that, I will kill you. But lupus patients and malaria patients just take it. When they talk about ivermectin, they say that for animals. I just say, I know you don't deal with them kind of thing, but I'm just saying, when they spoke about that and people were saying, well, you know, you can take ivermectin, they say, oh God, that is a horse thing they just give a horse. They come and they tell you that and they debunk it. And even when you Google it, Google and all, and YouTube and all of them was pulling down information and telling you that is misinformation. And they drove an agenda to send you down the river, to manipulate you, right?
That reminds me of what you mentioned.
And then they come back and they give them credibility.
Yeah, that reminds me of what you mentioned this morning with the property tax thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that with the property tax. and they fine and they keep extending the deadline. That is a form of manipulation. That there is a form of manipulation. They know they cannot bring it, right? But if they get people, manipulate people enough to go out there and submit the stuff and go and pay this and pay that, then they're getting through.
Yeah.
They went through manipulation.
So
when it was during COVID and they talk about you know, the vaccination for the public sector, there was no end of midnight tonight with that. It coming in 2 weeks. And what, you know how much people call me and say, I feel like I have to go and get vaccinated because, you know, they're going to make it mandatory for public.
Yeah.
So I told them, no, that cannot be done. That is a legal nightmare. That would cause the country to be sued into bankruptcy, right? I told people that, right? And so said, so done. They then eventually had to scrap the whole thing because it never was on the books.
That's a backpedal.
Anyway.
That's a backpedal. Right? And what happened is, after they couldn't lie no more, because people started to get information and people started to see certain things happening and experience certain things. So they couldn't lie to you no more and tell you that what you seeing is not true. So when they couldn't lie to you no more, because they realized people just weren't taking them on, it just went away.
Yeah, but I would still say they were successful because I think it was 95% of the population still went and get the job.
No, less than that into that. So, not 95. I would say about probably around a little over 60%.
I think it was 90 or 95% of the population.
In this country?
Yeah, that was almost global. That was almost global.
Nah, man. I think in Trinidad they get good resistance, man. I think it could have been a 60-40.
Nah,
because even real people didn't take it.
And that's the thing. You probably have this circle of people.
And it appears like real people, yeah.
And it appears to be, but yes, I tell you, it's around 90-95%. Right?
You know, but
so they're still getting through.
And you know, here we are. They come to you, they tell you all kind of rubbish on the television every 10 o'clock, the whole press conference. And these are the same people that lie watching your face so, with a straight face, lie to you every day for 2 years.
But that's also because...
And they're credible?
The truth is usually stranger than fiction. When I show people, because let me mention that. I don't tell people the truth. I show people the truth and I have them read it for themselves with regards to nutrition and the causes of diseases and so forth. Yeah. And I could tell you the truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah. Right? When people see the truth, a lot of people are in shock as to what they're supposed to or not supposed to eat. Right? I said, why is holistic health clinic? We deal with holistic health. I don't specialize, you know, right? I don't specialize. Health encompasses both physical and mental. Every aspect. Yeah. Every aspect of the human experience that deals with health. That's what I deal with. That's what I deal with. Every single aspect. All right? And I hope people understand that and make that step. That's why I tell people, come book your appointment. You're going to gain some knowledge that is going to shock you, and the knowledge cannot be refuted. I dare anybody to try to refute it.
Well, I'll tell you what, you could check out Setwire. You could give him a call, 761-1952. That is 761-1952 or 279-3935, 279-3935. Check him out today. Give him a call and get the knowledge going, man. Set, until next week.
Yeah, until next week. So thanks for having me.
All right, cool, man. Yeah.